Everyone remembers the 720s, but almost nobody realized it started a 9-year obsession. 4 extraordinary machines, 1 impossible goal: perfection. When McLaren launched the McLaren 720s in 2017, it didn't just launch another supercar. It redefined what a modern supercar could be. It was lighter than its rivals, brutally quick in straight line, astonishingly composed through the corners, and somehow comfortable enough to drive every single day. Ferrari had the 488 GTB, Lamborghini had the Huracan, yet almost overnight, the benchmark had changed. The 720s wasn't chasing the competition, it had become the competition. For most manufacturers, that would have been the finishing line. Build a masterpiece, celebrate the achievement, and move on to the next generation. But McLaren doesn't think that way. Instead of asking what a car should come next, they ask a far more difficult question: how do you improve something that's already extraordinary? That single question would shape the next 9 years. Each evolution became light, sharp, fast, more focused, until one platform gave birth to 4 incredible machines. And to understand how that journey ended up with the remarkable 788HS, we have to go back to where it all began. By 2017, McLaren had already established itself as a serious force in the supercar world. The MP412C had reignited the company's road ambitions, while the 650s refined that formula into something genuinely special. But neither of those cars shook the automotive world. The 720s did. From the moment it was revealed, people knew this wasn't just another facelift or a routine modern update. Its body looked as though it had been sculptured by wind itself. Air flowed through hidden channels carved into the bodywork, without relying on oversized wings or aggressive vents. Everything had a purpose. Beneath that futuristic design sat the monocage 2 carbon fiber chassis, providing exceptional rigidity while keeping the weight remarkably low. Behind the driver was a heavily revised 4-liter twin-turbocharged V8, producing 720 horsepower. The numbers were staggering: 0 to 100 km per hour in under 3 seconds, a top speed beyond 340 km per hour. But those numbers only told part of the story. What truly amazed the reviewers was how effortlessly the car felt. Slim roof pillars gave driver outstanding visibility. The hydraulic suspension absorbed the roads with surprising comfort before transforming into a razor-sharp track weapon at the push of a button. It felt alive, confidence-inspiring, predictable, fast enough to embarrass cars costing considerably more. Journalists praised its balance. Owners discovered they could comfortably drive it every day. Rival manufacturers suddenly found themselves chasing a new target. McLaren hadn't simply built another fast car. They had rewritten the rulebook. For almost everyone else, that would have been enough. For McLaren, it was only the beginning. Most manufacturers spend years creating a flagship supercar, launch it with enormous fanfare, and then begin developing its replacement. McLaren chose a different path. To them, the 720s wasn't the finished product, it was the foundation. Hidden behind every glowing review was a team of engineers convinced that there was still more performance waiting to be unlocked. Somewhere inside the suspension, the software, the aerodynamics, and the chassis were a fraction of a second that had to be discovered. The relentless pursuit wasn't inspired by road car industry. It came directly from Formula One. In Formula One, standing still means moving backwards. Every race weekend introduced new ideas. Every component is questioned. Every gram matters. McLaren brought that philosophy to the road. They weren't chasing marketing headlines. They were chasing improvements. Sometimes the changes were obvious. A light exhaust, sharper suspension tuning, revised aerodynamics. Other improvements were almost invisible. More responsive software, a quicker transmission, steering calibrated with even greater precision. Each update seemed small on its own. Together they transformed the entire driving experience. The goal was never to build a completely different car. The goal was to build a better one. And eventually the engineers asked themselves a final question. If the 720s wasn't already this brilliant, what would happen if they removed every unnecessary compromise? That answer arrived wearing 2 legendary letters: LT. Among McLaren enthusiasts, those 2 letters carry enormous weight: Longtail. Originally born from the legendary F1 GTR race cars of the 1990s, the LT badge eventually became something much greater than just a design feature. It became a promise: the lightest, the sharpest, the most focused version of McLaren. When the 765 LT arrived in 2020, it immediately lived up to that reputation. Yes, power climbed up to 765 horsepower. Yes, acceleration became even more violent, but horsepower wasn't the real story. Weight was. Titanium replaced heavier materials through the car. A lighter exhaust system derived an angrier soundtrack. Thinner glass, lighter seats, redesigned bodywork, and hundreds of engineering revisions removed precious kilograms wherever possible. The result wasn't simply a faster 720s. It was a completely different personality. Every steering input felt immediate. Every braking zone demanded precision. Every corner rewarded confidence. The car wasn't trying to isolate the driver. It wanted complete involvement. Raw, mechanical, unfiltered, exactly the qualities enthusiasts dream about. Even today, many consider the 765 LT one of McLaren's greatest drivers' cars because it wasn't obsessed with luxury or outright numbers. It was obsessed with the connection, and perhaps more importantly, it proved something remarkable. The 720's platform still had room to evolve. After the success of the 765 LT, most people expected McLaren to unveil an entirely new generation. But instead, they introduced the 750s. The reaction was immediate. It's basically the same car. It's just another facelift. It doesn't look different enough. On the surface, those criticisms seemed understandable. But appearance can be deceiving. McLaren had revised nearly 30% of the car. Power increased, gear shift became faster, the suspension delivered even greater confidence. Steering response improved while preserving the hydraulic feel that drivers loved. Aerodynamics became more efficient without sacrificing the elegance of the original design. These weren't just dramatic headline changes, they were carefully considered refinements. Because improving greatness is often harder than creating something new. When a platform is already exceptional, every single improvement has earned its place. The 750 wasn't just trying to replace the 720s. It represented 6 years of continuous learning, engineering testing, and refinement. It wasn't revolution, it was evolution at its finest. Most people believed this is where the story would end, but they were wrong. As always, the rumors arrived before the official announcement. Prototype sightings, whispers from insiders, speculation that McLaren wasn't quite finished with the platform after all. Then came the reveal, the 788HS. Not an entirely new supercar, not a replacement, but the ultimate expression of everything the Super Series had become. Every lesson learned since 2017 had been distilled into one machine. More power, less weight, sharp aerodynamics, even greater precision. The HS badge has always represented something special with McLaren. High sport. Cars created not because customers demanded them, but because engineers believed perfection still at another level. The 788HS isn't defined by one specification. It is defined by the feeling it delivers, the immediacy of its steering, the confidence under braking, the balance through every corner, the sense that every engineering decision saved the driver above everything else. Without the 720s, there could have never been a 765 LT. Without the 765 LT, there could have never been the 750s. And without every lesson learned along the way, the 788HS simply wouldn't exist. Looking back, it's easy to see 4 different cars: the 720s, the 765 LT, the 750s, the 788HS. But that's not the full story. There are 4 chapters of the same journey. The 720s proved McLaren could redefine modern supercar. The 765 LT showed just how far the platform could be pushed when compromise was removed. The 750s proved that evolution can be more powerful than revolution. And the 788HS became the ultimate expression of everything that came before it. 9 years, thousands of engineering revisions, countless hours of testing, millions invested in chasing improvement that many people would never notice, because that's what separates great companies from legendary ones. They refuse to believe that good enough is ever enough. In an industry constantly chasing the next big thing, McLaren chose patience. They refined, they questioned, they improved again and again and again. Because perfection was never a destination waiting at the end of the road. It was always moving, it was always demanding more. Maybe that's why the legacy of the 7 Series is so remarkable. It wasn't created by one revolutionary moment. It was built through relentless obsession. An obsession with saving milliseconds from lap times, removing grams from components, performing steering feel, improving driver confidence, making something already extraordinary just a little bit better. Whether the 788HS marks this final chapter of this remarkable platform, or simply closes one era before another one begins, its legacy is already secured. Not because it has the biggest horsepower figure, not because it has the fastest lap, but because it represents nearly a decade of refusing to stop improving. 4 extraordinary machines, 1 relentless philosophy, 1 unforgettable journey. Because at McLaren, perfection was never the finishing line. there was always a reason to keep moving forward.